Soft piano music plays. Snow falls under a pale morning sky. A lone boy shovels snow in front of a small house. Narrator, calm but emotional. On Christmas morning, while most kids unwrapped gifts by a fire, one boy battled the cold to clear a stranger's driveway. He thought it was just kindness. But this simple act would reopen an old wound and bring a long-lost son home. Slow zoom on the boy's trembling hands gripping a shovel, his breath fogging in the cold air. Elias Gardner was only 14, but had learned life's hardships far too early. His father had passed away 2 winters ago, and his mother, Caroline, worked long hours at a diner to make ends meet. That Christmas morning, while other kids slept in, Elias was out with an old shovel, earning a few dollars clearing snow. But this time, he wasn't doing it for money. Across the street lived the Coopers, an elderly couple, quiet and kind, who had lost their only son years ago. Elias often saw Mrs. Cooper sitting by the window, gazing at the snow with a faraway sadness in her eyes. So, that morning, he decided to shovel their driveway, not for payment, but simply because he knew what loneliness looked like. His fingers were numb, his coat thin, and his body shivered with every gust of wind. Yet, as he cleared the last strip of snow, a voice broke through the stillness. "Did you do this?" Mrs. Cooper stood at the door, bundled in a heavy sweater, her eyes wide with surprise. Elias hesitated, unsure how to respond. "I just wanted to help, ma'am," he said softly. Her expression softened instantly. "You must be freezing. Come in, dear. Let us thank you properly." Elias shook his head. "I'm fine. Really." But then Mr. Cooper appeared, his deep voice carrying warmth despite its roughness. "Come on, boy. It's Christmas. The least we can do is offer you a hot drink." And before Elias could argue, the couple ushered him inside, into a world that smelled of pine, cinnamon, and home. Inside the Coopers' living room, Elias thawed slowly by the fire. The flicker of light revealed old photos on the wall, a smiling young man in a military uniform. "That's David," Mrs. Cooper said softly, following his gaze. "Our son." Elias nodded quietly. He didn't ask what happened. The sadness in her voice said enough. Mr. Cooper handed Elias a steaming mug of cocoa. "You did good, son. Not many people would shovel snow for free on Christmas morning." Elias smiled faintly. "I didn't want anything. Just thought you could use some help." Mrs. Cooper disappeared for a moment, returning with a folded scarf, thick, blue, and embroidered with delicate snowflakes. Near the edge, 2 letters were stitched in gold. DC. She handed it to Elias. "I was saving this for someone who reminds me of our David," she said. "And that's you." Elias's eyes widened. "I can't take this. It's nonsense," she interrupted gently. "It's a gift, not for what you did, but for who you are." The boy's hands trembled as he accepted it. The scarf was soft, yet it felt heavy, like it carried years of love and loss. Just then, a sharp knock echoed through the room. Mr. Cooper frowned, walking to the door. Outside stood their neighbor, Gerald, the one who had been watching earlier. "Be careful who you let in," Gerald said gruffly. "Not everyone does good for nothing." Elias froze, the sting of those words cutting deep. But before he could leave, Mrs. Cooper's voice broke the tension. "Kindness doesn't need permission, Gerald. Merry Christmas." And she shut the door softly. That evening, Elias told his mother about the Coopers and the scarf. "David Cooper," Caroline repeated, her voice distant. "I knew him. He used to help out around town before he left for the army." Her eyes softened. "He was a good man. The Coopers must have loved him dearly." Elias looked down at the scarf. "They said he might come home someday." Caroline smiled sadly. "Maybe kindness finds its way back, one way or another. Outside, snow fell heavier. And somewhere in that storm, a man walked slowly down the same street, duffel bag slung over his shoulder, his breath fogging in the cold. His name was David Cooper. And he had finally come home. When David reached his parents' porch, his eyes filled with tears. The sight of his mother through the frosted window nearly broke him. But then something else caught his eye, a boy walking down the street wearing his old blue scarf. David froze. His heart pounded. He knocked on the door, and when his mother opened it, time seemed to stop. "David," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Merry Christmas, Mom," he said softly. Mr. Cooper appeared next, disbelief giving way to joy as he pulled his son into a hug. Moments later, Elias appeared at the door, the scarf still around his neck. He froze when he saw David, realization dawning on both their faces. "You must be Elias," David said gently. "My parents told me about you." Elias stammered. I didn't know this belonged to you, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." David smiled and rested a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay. You reminded them of who I used to be, and maybe reminded me of who I still can be." Over the next few days, David and Elias became inseparable. David, who once dreamed of rebuilding the old community center, found new purpose, teaching Elias carpentry, helping local families, and restoring hope where it had faded. The Coopers' home, once quiet and heavy with absence, filled again with laughter and warmth. Elias wore the blue scarf every day, not as a gift, but as a promise. That kindness, no matter how small, could melt even the coldest winter. Soft instrumental music swells as the camera pans to the snowy street, glowing with Christmas lights. Narrator, closing line. Sometimes, a simple act of kindness isn't just about giving, it's about bringing someone home. Because love, like snow, always finds its way back. Fade out. Title appears on screen. The snow that brought him home. What would you have done that morning? Would you have stopped to help, not knowing that your kindness could change a life forever? Tell us in the comments below, and remember, even the smallest act of good can bring someone home.